Hey YouTube, it's another perfect day in God's country and I ain't lying. Wow, look at that. I tend to come in spurts, huh? Boy, that was a weird thing to say. I go away for a while, then I come back and make a bunch of videos in a row. I get inspired, and then it sucks me in, then I watch a couple truth videos, and I'm right back in the dang game. But anyway, I promise I'll disappear just as quick as I showed up again. Thank you to each and every one of you for taking yet a minute out of your day, taking another moment out of your day to hang out with me, Lucky Haskins, for yet another moment of truth. It is indeed another perfect day in God's country, and I ain't lying. All the way down to the tips of my nicotine-stained fingers, I can assure you that I will never lie to you and that everything I say on this channel, unless I specifically tell you it's a theory, is 100% verifiable and correct. Thank you very much for that little housekeeping, listening to that little piece of housekeeping there. Now, today, I want to talk about something that's a little dear to my heart. My friend Shawnee B, thanks for the nice comment, by the way, brother. My friend Shawnee B had pointed out, now look at that, man. I say thank you to somebody I completely lose my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. Well, I'll just have to, I'm certain I'll wind my way back to that. What I want to talk about today is something that has really troubled me for quite some time, and that is obvious COINTEL channels pulling the wool over a bunch of innocent human beings' eyes. I mean, basically, folks, just being the biggest form of a dirtbag you could possibly be to humanity. It's always mysterious to me how people can do this, but as we know, oaths have been taken, people have been compromised. This is our reality. And as we now know, as many of you now know, the flat earth community has always been owned and controlled by the same folks that own and control everything surrounding this reality. The quickest and easiest way to spot any COINTEL channel, of course, would be if they suddenly start wavering and flip, because you can't undo truth. Everybody knows this. That is why there is no such thing as an ex-flat earther. If you think there is, well, you've been fooled as well. You can't undo knowledge, folks. You can't undo truth. You can't unsee what you've seen. Truth doesn't go backwards. It doesn't work that way. You would like to forget about a lot of the things that you've learned, but unfortunately, the truth is a bitter pill, and I don't like the truth any more than the people who hate the truth so much that they will actually argue against the facts that I lay down in my videos. So, however, something that really troubled me when we witnessed a COINTEL channel finally do the inevitable and sell out the entire community and flip and say, well, the whole thing was based upon a theoretical map. Right. Yeah, we buy that 100%. Yeah. Okay. So when certain COINTEL channels flipped, then they started saying, and the flat earth has never done anything for anyone. Now, folks, you should, of course, right away, we know better. You should know, if you've listened to Lucky Haskins at all, you should know you are being propagandized by a brilliant propagandist who is fooling you, who has fooled you already and is trying to fool you again. And now is clearly pointing out who he truly represents and is spewing hatred like, what has the flat earth ever done for anyone? You guys are such idiots. Now, Lucky's here to set the record straight and talk about the millions and millions of lives that were saved by flat earthers and by people educating themselves and understanding the difference between a theory and reality. Oh yeah, that's what Shawnee B said something about in my comment section. Maybe that's what I was going to say. I really forgot my first thought I was going to open up with. I just shoot from the hip, man. So whatever I was going to say to start this video, it's gone. But Shawnee B thanked me for trying to, articulate the difference between theory and reality to people, and I appreciate that, brother. But what I want to talk about today is I'm completely jumping over to another thing that I wanted to talk about for a long time, because of course, only a dirtbag would say something like that. What has the flat Earth ever done for anything, for civilization or for humanity? First of all, we saved millions of lives, and I would say specific hat tip to the old guard. Without the old guard, the movement didn't survive. And the old guard suffered immense mockery, immense mockery, hatred. I mean, you have no idea what it was like to be telling people 13 years ago that they were wrong about their globe, okay? The old guard suffered, paid the cost, with the front lines, so to speak, In any war, the guys that go in first, they get hit the hardest, okay? The old guard were the first ones through the door and saying, hey, folks, we better snap out of the trance here, okay? So I'm specifically trying to give a hat tip for the old guard, the longtime flat earthers, those who never quit, those who continuously put themselves at risk of all of these social hatreds and mockery and all the things that come with attempting to educate other people so that they may defend themselves against this high level corruption, or at least identify what it is and try to do anything better they can in their lives, right, to correct the situation. And of course, the number one, there's lots we can do. I don't want to get too sidetracked here. Y'all know I can wander all over the map. I want to talk about what the flat earth movement has done for the human race, which is far beyond even putting a price tag on or even putting it into words. However, flat earthers, people who know the globe is just a theoretical model that doesn't exist, are constantly mocked and ridiculed, even by the owned and controlled CIA news networks like CBS, CNN, Fox, blah, 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 blah. All of them mock anybody who's speaking any kind of fluent truth. And that's how they control the masses, through ego-based mockery. I've told you a million times, the number one proof of the globe, or the number one proof they use of the globe, is indeed mockery across the board. From the very first moment that you were taught about the globe, they added the mockery in. They said, people used to be so dumb, they thought the earth was flat. And the class is brought to laughter by the teacher. Been in the curriculum since I was a child, and it's still in the curriculum to this day. The mockery starts the moment you are introduced to the hypothetical theoretical model known as the heliocentric model. As soon as you're introduced to that religious movement, you are taught to mock anybody that doesn't want to blindly believe and follow along with the narrative. Okay, so the entirety of the globe earth propaganda starts with mockery, and all the way through, that's all they have, since they have no science, it's just a theory. They use mockery to keep the people in line. The emperor wears no clothes in real time. I've told you a million times why they gave us the fable of the emperor wearing no clothes. They're literally showing us how this works and the human psychology attached to the brilliant globe earth propaganda. They knew it would work because of the mockery. That's why the emperor wears no clothes, even though it's told to us as a fable. That's why it's so effective. Once the people who see that the emperor is naked look around and all of their peers are saying beautiful clothes, because you were told if you're not a liar, then you will see the beautiful clothes. Liars cannot see the new clothes. So once humans look around and their neighbors and peers are all going, woo, look at them beautiful clothes, because they're all liars, so they're pretending they're not liars and claiming they see the clothes, then everybody joins that, because that's the popular pool. That's how the globe earth theoretical horseshit science works. Everybody knows it's globe. We've always known it's globe. Yeah, Right. This is why they mock it every day on television. They mock those who know the truth. This is why right before they did the fake Artemis trip to the moon recently, I can't believe that people still believe there are human beings in that nose cone on that giant dick, that huge firework that they launch that does this and goes right into the ocean right before our eyes. We can watch it go like this. And people literally believe there are human beings in that nose cone, that giant firecracker they launch off and tell humanity they're going to go into outer space and orbit the moon. So let's start with science. Flat earthers made huge improvements and strides in bringing what the masses would call mainstream science. This is what the masses mean when they say, we trust the science. It means they have no fucking idea anything about what science they believe, but their favorite television station told them, trust the science. But they're clueless about the science that they are told to trust. Now, I would say anytime somebody tells you trust the science, it's very easily correctable. No, whenever you hear the word trust the science, I highly suggest if that involves you somehow, you learn the science. Learn the science, okay? And learn to comprehend it. Learn the tricks they have used to teach you to believe in non-demonstrable science. Learn the tricks. Learn how they mock you if you don't believe a theory that can't be proven. Learn these basic fundamental tricks that they use on childlike minds to fool people, okay? So I was trying to say about that flat earther guy murdering his neighbor, that's, of course, propaganda designed to go hand in hand with the Artemis mission. Again, what is it they're using? Pure mockery. Nothing else, mockery. There is and never will be any proof of any theory that disagrees with experiment. It's wrong. So they have to use mockery to keep the blinded sheep latching on to this globe and snubbing their nose at anybody that tries to educate them regarding the theoretical science surrounding their hypothesis that they wholeheartedly were trained to believe in. A faulty model, obviously. So let's just start with the scientific advancements, okay? Because we know we can't beat the owners and controllers of this world own and control every channel. They own every journalist. They own every publishing company. They own every source of media. They own and control what you get to see, right? If I step over the line here, they'll delete my channel. They won't let you listen to me anymore. They won't let me speak, okay? There's limits to how much truth you're allowed to speak, period. And my channel's so heavily ghosted ever since I came on here and told you guys that the Netflix documentary Behind the Curve was absolutely horseshit, COINTEL propaganda, and we should never fall for that. That's when my channel got seriously heavily ghosted and everything changed here. It's even difficult for some people to leave comments on my channel. They get sort of ghosted. It's just been a mess ever since then, which means I'm doing something right. So let's get down to it. The scientific advancements themselves are staggering. The amount of damage control that mainstream science has had to do to the masses, to the blinded masses, to prevent them from being able to access true information or being pointed in the right direction and told what they should study and how they can learn about the theoretical globe model and theoretical science used across the board as disguised as science. Clearly, they lead all of this. Theoretical science is led with a conclusion. That's what theoretical science is. We have a conclusion that we desire. We want to tell everybody it's a ball. So they begin a process of reverse engineering, making up fabricated theories that could possibly make the model work mathematically in theory. Has nothing to do with reality. That's what theoretical science is. It's reverse engineered to meet a conclusion. It's not real science. So in the globe, it really just got disgusting because, of course, it disagrees with experiment from its inception. You don't even have to test the globe Earth hypothesis. Every human being knows it's wrong. It's wrong immediately when it's proposed. However, people have been so brainwashed and so much trauma-based mind control, and of course the Rockefeller education system. If you take the time to research the people who invented the system and implemented the education system in the United States, and you understand some of the motives of these people, then you can clearly see where everything I'm explaining to people, you can then understand why this stuff exists. Because a lot of people can't accept the truth because they can't figure out why. And I always, like I said in the last video, I could sit here and try to explain to you why, but if you don't have the intellectual capacity to even understand the science surrounding your belief, you are not ready to even grasp why. The short answer when somebody asks you why would they lie, the correct answer is to create you. Right, you're going to sit here and tell me we came from apes and evolution is real and we're going to space and we landed on Mars and the people are on the moon and there's only 6 continents, they're all divided into countries, and you're probably a Trump voter. And okay, they wanted to create you, but you bought into all of the indoctrination and all of the propaganda. So by design, this is why you can't figure out why would they lie, because it's built into the propaganda that you can't think. You can't use your critical thought. And there's no more proof available to somebody than when somebody says, why would they lie? Why would they lie about the shape of the earth? Trust me, start with understanding the difference between a theory and real life, reality. In science, that's called experiment. Okay? Learn the difference between theoretical science and the scientific method. Learn what it means to disagree with experiment. You don't have to do an experiment to know something disagrees with experiment. Back to the globe Earth. Every human being, at least used to be, intelligent enough to know that as soon as it is even hypothesized that the Earth could be a ball, automatically somebody's going, well, that's going to disagree with experiment 1,000,000%. That's just wrong. No, because we're going to make up a whole shitload of theories to pretend it could be correct. Why would you do this? Because we have an agenda to push, and it requires this conclusion. So I can't stress it enough, and I know my points don't get through all the way. Like when I was trying to explain to you, these scientists like to go, so you think all scientists are in on it across the board? I was trying to explain to you this geologist who's retired in the Upper Peninsula. He may not still be alive, I don't know. But I was fascinated to hear him tell his story. And clearly, listen to this guy. It literally points out that he's using no science. He discovered nothing, never formed a thought on his own. He literally used the heliocentric model and the false historical narrative, and that was science. And it's not science, folks. What people can't grasp is that there is no unbiased science going on in this reality by the mainstream. It's not allowed. It's not allowed. Reverse engineered science that supports the desired conclusion is allowed. And many scientists do not have the intellectual faculties intact to relate that to an agenda. They don't know that they're pushing an agenda. They were just told, here's the conclusion. We need to theoretically come up with a way that we can promote this conclusion. That's how agendas have been disguised as science. And yes, it's across the board. The geologist guy, he's using information he got from NASA. Woo! Okay? Government information provided to you by your shadow, fake, faulty cartoon government is not science. Okay? So the geologist was never a geologist. He was a puppet of the system. What he was trained to do without him knowing it was to take his discoveries and reverse engineer them into a theoretical model and a historical narrative. Can you comprehend that? I know I'm trying to articulate this as clearly as I can. At this point, that is across the sciences. I've told you there's no more clear way to point it out than listening to the geologist himself. He never discovered anything other than some rocks that didn't fit the narrative. To then reverse engineer those rocks into the narrative, he had to use nothing but theoretical science. So the guy never discovered a thing his entire career, but he was an excellent puppet for the system without ever being in on it. He helped the system narrow the gap, create more theoretical horseshit to push a false scientific narrative and a false historical narrative. Now, to reverse it for you, real science would have been this scientist discovering these rocks and going forward and using his own mind to try to solve the issue. But he's not allowed to. He has to take into account the heliocentric model and the historical narrative fed to him. All false. Okay? So yes, folks, it is across the sciences because it infects everything underneath it. The globe Earth is the umbrella that holds all modern theoretical science underneath it and easily allows them to manipulate the population into anything they would like to see them do. You know, during the COVID hoax, there's no virus, nobody's getting sick. People that are dying is because they can't get their pneumonia properly treated, or they were put on a drug, that remdesivir drug, or however you pronounce it. Those are the two main reasons people died. A lot of the pneumonia was caused from wearing a mask, of course. You're suffering by sucking on your own exhaust. This is one of the ways that flat earthers helped so many millions survive, because you will, of course, everybody just thought we were crazy. Flat earthers won't wear a mask or take the jab. Is that because flat earthers are conspiracy theorists and they think everything's a lie? No. That's because a flat earther is not a conspiracy theorist whack job. Somebody who knows the earth is not a globe is somebody who intensely studied the science, and they understand the difference between theoretical science and reality. They understand the importance of demonstration in science, that if your science is not demonstrable, well, anybody can create any agenda they want and reverse engineer some theoretical science and tell you on television, trust the science, you buffoon, and put on your mask and shoot this in your arm. So flat earthers, of course, told people, look, their virus has never even been proven to exist. It's just theoretical horseshit. And of course, we didn't wear masks. We didn't let our families wear masks. Nobody injected anything in their arm. We didn't let our families inject it in our arm. Therefore, none of us got sick. We're all still here. And none of us had heart attacks or blood clots over the next few years. As I watched, it's really sad, folks, but I live in a tiny little town. Two of my neighbors that if my windows were open could hear me right now. That's how close these two guys live to me. 2 fatalities from the COVID hoax because they wouldn't listen to any truth. Of course, they like their television. Okay. Well, the one guy had nothing to do with him. My dear friend Bill, what a great guy too. This is truly, of course, truly a give you the shirt right off his back kind of guy. Great freaking neighbor, my buddy Bill. Super good guy, honest as the day is long. Like to have a cold beer, we're lucky and have a good time. Just a straight up great dude, okay? He died because he was diagnosed in 2019 with bladder cancer, and they set up an appointment to have his bladder removed in February of 2000. When February came along, and he's like, at this point, he's pretty excited to get his bladder out of him because it's spreading. They canceled the appointment in February because of the fake virus, okay? The theoretical virus, how about we just put it that way? Because of some agenda-based theory, they cancel his real appointment that was really needed. and then they reschedule it for like April or something. And when that comes, he actually drove all the way to Minnesota, drove 12 hours to a hotel room and everything. And he gets there and they cancel it again. And of course, the hospital's a ghost town. Everybody's been laid off and fired and let go. No one's there, and he's told, "Oh no, your schedule, your surgery is not going to happen due to COVID." And the hospital, as you can see, is a ghost town. We don't have anybody to work on you, right? Okay, so they send him home. At this point, he's so pissed and so frustrated, he just said, "Screw it, screw it." And he sat in his living room chair and watched TV and smoked Marlboros for about a year, and then he died. And directly, folks, killed by theoretical horseshit propaganda. Directly killed. That's murder. That's murder if you understand the science. Most people do not, but that's murder. Now, my other neighbor across the street, diehard liberal, man. Vegetarian, liberal, blah, 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 blah. Super nice guy, though. His name was Richard. Well, of course, the diehard liberal that gets all his information from the television. You know that they done took the jab and all that. Well, not too long after getting the jab, maybe a year or two later, he had surgery on his shoulder, and the surgery went real well, I'm happy to report, and he came home that night and died of a blood clot. So, again, murder, but, who's going to, right? The masses are on the side of the enemy. They don't want to listen to truth. They hate the truth, okay? But I mean, many people were killed by that horrific, corrupt propaganda nonsense, money-making scam. The scam was just so extensive, it's amazing. The control just squashed so many. Man, there's still lots of businesses here in my community that never reopened after let's shut down for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Now, those mom and pop businesses are gone, and we got new Dollar Generals. There was one Dollar General up here on the island before the 2020, and now there's like 7 of them on the island. Like, it's just unbelievable. And all the mom and pop stores that were open prior to 2020, some of them reopened and recovered, but of course they don't have the business they did before. That was a big part of the narrative. And of course, another weird thing to me is I told all of my loved ones right then in January, when they even mentioned something about a theoretical virus is going to make everybody sick, I tell my loved ones instantly, this is going to be about mandatory vaccinations. 6 or 7 months later, they're talking about these vaccinations they want to take. And I'm like, okay, the same people that tell me I'm full of shit all the time. I told you in January this would be about mandatory vaccinations. Now it's about mandatory vaccinations, but yet I'm still crazy. There's just no amount of truth that you can smack someone in the face with that they're willing to absorb once they're completely obsessed with theoretical science and believe it's real. Once they have fully taken the bait and swallowed all of the propaganda, and the propaganda is so brilliant, the dividing it into countries, people don't understand that. They think all these countries are real. No, that's so they could build these massive militaries and bomb the shit out of you. Yeah, you and me and the poor Iranians and the poor Iraqi people and all of the regular human beings that are not in the club, that didn't take an oath, that are all just part of the shit show here, the new world. Yes, all fake. Countries, all fake. And people can't see how much it's interwoven. What's the number one excuse? There are still some adults that still think we landed on the moon. And what's their number one excuse? No, man, the Russians would have told on us if we didn't. Of course, there was a space race. The Russians would have told us. Now, they don't have the intellect. They don't know what propaganda is. They don't know they've been propagandized. Okay? The theoretical globe holds it all under the umbrella. Then we'll divide it into all these countries, and they're fucking fucked. Then we kill them all. We shoot at each other. We make them shoot at each other. We pit them against each other. We tell them that they'll be saved someday because we'll find some land in the sky they can live on. That keeps them from looking for any land around here. 100%. Who's looking for any land on Earth? Hell no. All the propagated dumbasses are looking to the sky. There's land in the sky somewhere, man. My government told me. They promised. Yeah, welcome to the island. Watch the movie. That's like their version of the island. Someday, you're going to live on land in the sky. But you don't know which way, because you don't know which way's up. So the sky could be that way, the sky could be that way, it could be that way. No, man, I'm pretty sure the sky's typically up. No, man, not in our theory. And it's real, because you can't prove it's wrong. You can't prove down is up. You can't prove up is down. You can't disprove it. So it's real. That makes it real. Now, anyway, I'm a little fired up. So what has the flat earthers done? First of all of the scientific advancements and that science has had to accommodate, I could give you example over example. I've said this many times over the years. One of them is the moon is in our atmosphere. Finally, flat earthers showed so much evidence that the moon was in our atmosphere. I remember the headline coming out when they do their damage control, because as we sit there and say the moon is in our atmosphere, it's clear. You can use your own eyes, make your own observations. We can tell that the moon is in our atmosphere. And all the globe earth believers, the people that believe all this theoretical horseshit, they're running around going, you guys are so dumb. Of course the moon's not in our atmosphere. It's deep in outer space. We've been there. You guys are so dumb. And then a big printout comes out in the newspaper. Scientists discover that the moon is in our atmosphere. Then they claim it. Then all the Globers are like, yeah, but it's not like you guys said. You guys just don't comprehend. You don't understand what a theory is, Lucky. The moon, of course the moon's in our atmosphere. We've always known that. You flat earthers didn't prove anything, because they don't mean it's in our atmosphere like you guys mean it's in our atmosphere. They mean it in a scientific, theoretical way that you don't understand because you can't comprehend science, Lucky. Not like we do. We know that space and time is warped, Lucky. Dumbass. All right, so and then to watch the biggest one, of course. Now you still get, I can't believe how dumb or are just left behind so much of the population is, because they're so steered away from this conversation by mainstream propaganda. And when they log on and they try to look for flat earth information, they're, of course, fed right to propaganda sites that are going to lie their ass off to them to try to trick them into. They're going to feed them the next reason why they should believe in theoretical science. That, let me point out again, is just simply picking an agenda you want to push, creating a conclusion that you need that would help you push that agenda, and then reverse engineering theoretical concepts to pretend on paper that hypothesis could work. That is exactly to the letter what we are dealing with, folks. If you choose to deny that, you're just a mental midget and a buffoon, and you are aiding and abetting the enemy. That's just the way it is. You've been trained to. This is why you want so bad to mock a guy like me. You just want to mock me. It's all that's built into your brain. You've been pummeled with that mockery as a solution all of your life. And it's not going to stop. You have to be stronger than that. You have to use your own intellectual faculties, and you have to learn the difference between theories and reality. Now, the best advancement, of course, is science. Science retreats and does damage control and makes the corrections as flat earthers point out the differences between reality and actual demonstrable and theoretical science and actual demonstrable science. As flat earthers over the years have pointed out the differences, science has had to retreat, so to speak, and do endless damage control. As soon as the flat earth movement started sweeping the internet, which again, on television, they want to tell you that people are watching videos and falling for it and believing the earth is flat. No flat earther would ever ask you to do that. All the flat earth movement is, and ever was, hey, have you ever took a look at the science surrounding the globe? No, why would I? Of course it's a globe. Well, you should take a better look at it scientifically and dissect it for yourself. That's how the movement started. It has nothing to do with watching a video and somebody says, hey, the earth's flat. Oh, okay, cool. I like that guy, and he just told me the earth is flat. This is literally what the masses are told and what they have to believe in their own mind. It's got to be really hard for a lot of my family members because they know me to be the opposite of that 1,000,000%. Everything I've endeavored and I've proven myself and proven my intellectual level for many, 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 many years. And they would all agree with this. However, I'm a nut job because I know the earth is flat. It's really weird, man. It's a weird vibe, but they have to defend the religion that they're in. It is a religion and it affects the mind very deeply. It is truly a state of psychosis. The propaganda has built into it mechanisms for them to defend this psychosis. One of the mechanisms is for them to convince themselves that there's something wrong with you. You can't really be spitting truth. This is what they would rather do rather than comprehend the science surrounding their belief, which is all they would need to do. So what are flat earthers? Flat earthers are the people that actually buckled down and dug through the science. That's all they are. Globers are people that blindly believe what they were indoctrinated to believe and know almost nothing about their belief. Even the ones that come online and fight on behalf of the globe, you can watch these guys do it for 5, 6, 7 years, and they still can't comprehend their own belief. They still don't know the difference between theory and reality. They still can't comprehend little micro details. They'll still say stupid shit like dark matter was discovered. That just cracks me up every time I hear that one. Once people snap out of the trance, they do start to realize how humorous that shit is. It is amazing what humanity fell for. But now that we've exposed it all and we understand why and how and all this, there's no debate anymore. It's just a matter of trying to reach the masses and get them to educate themselves. Never trust any science. Learn the science. Okay? There you go. And then you don't have to trust it. And stick to the scientific method. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. If it's theoretical and claimed to be real, you're being misled. It's that simple, folks. There is no argument to be made against that. People want to. They want to because that's their ego. They don't want to be wrong. They can't stand that Lucky knows more about their belief than them. People hate that. They hate it. But I do. I'm sorry. I was fascinated with the subject. And I said, yeah, I'll look into this globe earth science. Sounds interesting to me because I'm of that cloth. All of my life, I didn't believe the shit coming across the radio and the television. That started at a very young age. Okay, so it was nothing for me. I went, wow, the globe earth. Why would I look into the globe earth? And then I thought for just a couple of moments, and with all my experience looking at propaganda over the years, I went, yeah, of course I need to look at the globe earth. God dang, that's the biggest piece of propaganda we've ever been exposed to. Well, it didn't take me long. Once I started realizing what I was looking at, it didn't take long at all to realize, yeah, the globe earth is the biggest piece of propaganda